There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it...
What's up? I'm Gok. I was just reading there about basically a care home in Donegal, right? Care home in Donegal. Oh, this is disturbing. Very disturbing indeed. Look, lessons to be learned from report into sexual abuse at Donegal Care Centre. Now, I know this isn't Sligo news, but it's Irish news, and y'all need to know what's going on. So let's go have a look, will we? Let's have a wee looky-loo up at a Donegal Care Home, man. The HSE, as fucking usual. Look, the Disability Minister says it's imperative that lessons are learned from a report into sexual abuse at the Donegal Care Centre. A review of the HSE-run facility has found a number of residents were subjected to sustained abuse between 2003 and 2016. Many of the victims of the proprietor, who've been given the name Brandon, were non-verbal. Minister Anne Rabbitt, who is meeting victims' families, says she's been reassured by the HSE that there's no ongoing risks to service users. Do you ever hear such bullshit? Irish Times social affairs correspondent Kitty Holland says staff at the centre had raised concerns about how Brandon was dealt with. Do we hear about how Brandon was dealt with? You want to take a mic so it doesn't interfere.
There's note in the report of a meeting of a letter that was sent by 6 nursing staff to management in 2008, really begging them to take some kind of effective action to protect the residents from Brandon. And what the strategy that was advised to them was to move Brandon around the wards. What happened was Brandon found new victims in the wards.
So the HSE, right, had a report that they were employing a sexual predator, and he was preying on the people in the care home. Now, you know what they did? They said, all right, well, what we'll do is we'll move him around. We'll move the sexual predator around the care home, giving him an even bigger advantage to sexually fucking assault, molest, and do whatever the fuck it was he wanted to do. So basically, the HSE put him in a better position. After the report, they said, you know what? Let's put you into the new room with new people that you can torture and molest. Now, isn't that fucked up? I think it's fucked up. And people want to say, oh, it's not. Fucking pedophilia, all this shit, sexual predators, they're everywhere. They're being bred. And it's not a man problem. It's not a woman problem. It's a people problem. People problem. And look at this shit. Donegal Parish to vote council members in using proportional representation. Believe it or not, this is Ocean FM. Boys and girls. Ocean FM 102.5 to 105. Ah, man. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's the truth. Hey, Brian. But it's cat. This stuff happens all the time, right? And here's an example. yesterday, I think yesterday or the day before, I went up to the doctors to talk to them about all the troubles and mental issues I was experiencing through my whole life. Uh, I got to about, let me see, up to, well, I knew how to explain it, but you know what I mean? I had a summary version for the doctor that asked me to come up and speak to her. And they had a little student doctor or nurse in there taking notes. So I said to them, basically, start telling them all my problems because I hadn't told anyone. And then she starts tapping her watch, and she says, "Right, we're getting, we're almost past a half an hour." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's the crack." So when she left the room, I had a chat with the student nurses. He was taking notes, and I made sure they knew what I was talking about, because maybe this student nurse or student doctor or whatever he was, maybe he was maybe he got in it to help people and not just because money, you know. And if he did, maybe he'll take those notes and he'll put them in the right place, and maybe somebody can get help. Maybe people can get help, because the people, like, you know what I mean? The people in charge of these situations look at other people like cattle, numbers, all this shit. Just like a McDonald's worker eventually looks at burgers. You know? That's what these people are doing. They're becoming, like, just like what happens to people in prison. You get used to being in prison. So you get used to being, looking at people like machines, and you haven't got the correct paperwork. So you cannot get the help, because it's easier on them, not to give you the information and not to give you the help. And it's true. Like, think if anyone listens to any of the shit I say, then you'll hear the stuff I go through and the stuff that I try to do to help others, and also when I go to try and get help myself, how hard it is. Now, I'd like to hear from a lot of people. I'd like to know what's going on in Sligo. What is going on? The other night, last night, I went for a walk. The town is filled with students, right? The town is filled with students. Now, I decided to take a walk over to Four Lights. Do you know what I mean? Because they're a business just after COVID. I'm assuming they're there to get money. So I walk over and the Four Lights is closed. And I'm thinking to myself, that makes no sense. It makes no sense, right? But here's my bit of intuition from the industry, and also knowing all these situations that pop up, which is because money. Now, what's the chances when the Four Lights people decided to take over the lease? They decided to take over the lease because they thought to themselves, uh, if you have two failing businesses on either side of the line, you know, if you have two failing businesses, can't you get support of, the government? Now, you probably think, yeah, that's crazy talk, but it kind of lines up. When I asked the people in Four Lights, if you got more staff, would you stay open longer? Because, they were closing, causing an old man to not get his chicken. And they said, no, we wouldn't stay longer if we got more staff. And this kind of puzzled me. It really puzzled me. Like, to why? To why wouldn't you stay open longer? Don't you want more money? They said, like, they were saying, no, they don't. They're going home at 8:30. They only open about 2 o'clock, and they're going home at 8:30. They're closing at 8:30. So I'm thinking that they had to drive up to Donegal maybe to go home. Now, here's the situation. A lot of situations in our town, Sligo, are like this. They're pockets. Do you know what I mean? Pockets for other places. People have been talking about it. It's all over Ireland. Pockets. Little businesses for outside of places, pop up pockets, basically where you can take from a town and not give anything to it. Do you know? So that the Four Lights situation makes no sense to me. It's like, unless I'm right about what I'm saying, which is the only listed so they can claim we're a failing business, get COVID payments and things like this. and put the money in other places because it says they want staff on the window. There's 3 people working in there when I went in, and they had no chicken, you know. And at the same time, their hours aren't correct. They're not. They're not the correct hours for making money, which makes no sense. So why would you set yourself up to fail business wise unless there was somebody to pick you up? Which right now there is, isn't there? There's all this governmental payments for businesses and bailouts and all this shit. And this is actually happening. Call me crazy, call me conspiracy theorist, but it's fucking true. It's actually happening. Look around. All these places saying stuff like I looked at Ocean FM the other day, right? And I seen how this restaurateur was saying how the government basically have really looked after the hospitality sector during COVID. And if you didn't know or you don't know what a restaurateur is, it's basically someone who owns a restaurant or restaurants, plural, business owner. Now, this guy was saying that the government looked after the hospitality sector. Correct. Yes. But what he was really saying is, the government put money in my pocket. Do you know what I'm saying? And I commented on Ocean FM's post and I said, my heirs, they looked after the hospitality sector. I know chefs, and I've been talking to chefs, and they've told me it has been bullshit. It has been bullshit. It hasn't stopped being bullshit. It's been crazy all over the place. And the thing is, at the very end, I just said, if you really want to know how the hospitality sector has been looked after, ask the fucking workers. Because when it comes down to it, like, that's who you're talking to. And that's who you're talking about when you're talking about, the hospitality sector. Because it's not the owner. The owner doesn't do a fucking thing. It's not the restaurateur. You just sit there, man, drinking and fucking taking extra money, spending it on money, spending on all sorts of shit, man, while all the workers do the work. Stop acting the bollocks, you owners and you business owners and you restaurateurs and stuff. Give the people the credit they deserve. When people come to you to work, you should be grateful for the opportunity, not the other way around. That's why you're so happy to have the EU situation happen, because you're like, well, fuck the Irish, innit? Sligo town is a racket. The Four Lights is pulling a racket. Think about it. Look at it. Figure it out yourself. Look at the Four Light situation. The 4 lanterns in Sligo, right? Look at them. Look at the business and think to yourself, why aren't you open like everyone else? Why? Ask the question what I asked. Ask if you get more staff, will you stay open longer? Your man, the guy said no. Now listen, I'm not trying to have a go at the Four Lights or anything, or even get them stung. What I'm trying to do is let you see that this stuff is going on, and it's not their fault that the fucking bullshit politicians and the systems are set up to keep the poor and feed the people with money, which makes no sense. Do you know what I mean? And they keep on feeding them. And the more you go, and they're going to act, maybe every now and then you might find one person in between that might help you, but it's hard to find them. All they do is hindering you. Do you know what I mean? That's all they do is hinder you. Constantly, man. And it's not cool. I can tell you that. It's not cool. What do you think, Mokara? You got an opinion? Let me know in the comments. This is about Sligo, Ireland, Sligo. Help me, help you, help others. The Sligo Scoop, baby, where we can talk about what's actually going on, talk about whatever. Let's get talking. Let's talk problems. Let's talk drama. Let's talk inspiration. You know, let's talk. That's all we need to do. Constantly. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Now, Sloan Lat August Garamahagud. This was also me testing out my connection. Hopefully, it's not shit. Sloan Lat August Garamahagud Mokara. Honik 2. Next time. Sloan. Go foil.